I can hear you now.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. All right, cool.
How
Sorry
you
about
doing,
that.
man? You doing okay?
I am,
No, you're fine.
aside from being flustered this morning, I was a little jealous that you were hanging with Dan Kovalik because he's one of my favorite people. He's awesome.
Is he? Is he?
Yeah,
Well, then you're flustered by it.
well, I'm not that. Yeah,
What's
I was
flustered by it? It's a good
jealous,
thing.
not flustered. Not flustered by that. I was just flustered by the fact that my sound wasn't on.
Oh, I see. I see. No, you're perfectly fine. Those things happen. When Darla invited me on the show the other day, I had like 5 minutes of not being able to figure out what was going on with my sound issues. It had something to do with Zoom more than anything else.
And this used to happen even on legacy radio. I mean, I used to have, I used to work at KFI in LA, which is a 50,000 watt powerhouse that serves allegedly 15 Western states. Probably at like 2 a.m. when the ionosphere is blowing the right direction. But still, it's a big station. Dr. Laura, Rush Limbaugh. And, and it was amazing how many, it's like, oh, I hear an echo back in my headphones. There's all sorts of weird tech stuff that could come up, so, and that's when you have like an army of producers, board op, call screener, everything.
Still happens.
Yeah.
Still happens. Ted, I want to go to what I know you've seen at this point. I hope I still have it up. I think I might have taken it down. I was supposed to have a guest to come on this morning. They blew me off. And so my
Scott blew you off, huh?
Yes.
That's
I have some feelings about that. But fair enough. I will be an adult. I'm not gonna be. Look, man, I care about my
Iraqis finally got him.
Oh. Right. Yeah, I mean, look, he was on the Ukrainian hit list, by the way.
Oh,
he was on the Ukrainian hit list.
Good for him. Although that would be terrifying. I used to be on an ISIS hit list, and that was terrifying.
Are you serious?
I was, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why were you on an ISIS hit list?
Honestly, because people from ISIS don't read cartoons. I mean, they literally just had a hard-on for cartoonists after Charlie Hebdo, and they were like, "Oh, who's some American cartoonists?" And I guess I should be pleased that like me and a guy named Matt Boers both came up like high on the list. And it was just like, they're American cartoons. We're literally the two most progressive, pro-Islamic, pro leaving the Middle East alone people like in American cartooning. Where it's kind of like, if ISIS wanted to go fund a cartoonist, it would be us. And it's like, you're trying to kill us because you guys are stupid. Like, meanwhile, I can give you the names of all my colleagues who are a bunch of Islamophobic assholes who, really are making them, you should hate. So anyway, yeah, it was literally just because we were American political cartoonists.
Oh, that's hilarious. Is it?
Yeah.
I
was so frustrated. I told the FBI, can I send them my cartoons? Can I just explain? But like, no.
Yeah, they don't seem to have a sense of humor with that stuff.
Well, they weren't even reading. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that they, al-Baghdadi didn't have a sense of humor. He just didn't see the cartoons. I think if he did, he would have been like, oh, that Ted Rall, he's all right. It's okay.
But I would tell you, one day I was in a cab. I think I was in Egypt. And I remember I was in no. Yeah, it might have been Egypt. It was somewhere like that. And I remember being in the back with the a tour guide. And somehow religion came up in the cab. And I was about to say, well, I'm not really religious. I don't believe any of this stuff. And as I was getting it out, she took to me and she was like, shut up.
It's like words come back into my mouth. Stop.
Right.
No.
I couldn't even get it out. She just saw where I was going with what I was about to say. She was like, shut up.
It's like quit it.
You're going to get us killed.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like in those countries, you're always asked, like, oh, do you have kids? And when I traveled there before I had a kid, it would be like, well, why not? And and you learn very quickly. You're supposed to say, Inshallah. I can't wait. That'll be the best thing. But of course, I didn't feel like that at all. But, you have to say that.
But on the positive side, they'd be like, he's just an American. They wouldn't do that. And it was just like, he just was an American, stupid American, he's going to hell or whatever. So I wanted, Donald Trump has destroyed or is trying to destroy the Department of Education. And this was something that was on the whole, what is it, 2025 Project 2025 stuff. He was like, I did disavow Project 2025. I don't
Of course,
believe
it also,
anything.
this goes all the way back. Reagan wanted to get rid of it.
Well, that was kind of my point, right? These are Republican priorities. I know people are like, okay, Donald Trump is doing radical stuff. These are Republican priorities. They do not, in their ethos, they don't believe in this issue of the state.
That's the shocking part, is that Trump, I mean, Trump, for all of his novelty stylistically, hasn't really deviated except on foreign policy.
Right.
But domestically, he's just another Republican. Tax cuts for the rich, tax cuts for business, blah, blah, blah.
Destroying
that's all.
state.
Yeah.
We want to go after Medicare, Social Security, Medicare, but we can't do it directly. So we're going to do it by firing workers, cutting services in regards to what it can do. And in this case, for the Department of Education, he comes out and he makes this statement that, again, I do not think people voted for this. And I think this would have political consequences in the way they look at Donald Trump and what they put him in to do versus what he's actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things. Social Security is going to be another big one. I think I could be wrong.
Department, we're going to shut it down and shut it. Administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good. We want to return our students to the states where just some of the governors here are so happy about this. They want education to come back to them, to come back to the states, and they're going to do a phenomenal job. If you look, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, I have to tell you, I give them a lot of credit. China's top 10. And so we can't now say that bigness is making it impossible to educate, because China is very big. But you have countries that do a very good job in education. And I really believe, like some of the governors here today from states that run very, very well, including a big state like Texas, but states that run very well are going to have education that will be as good as Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and those top, Finland, those top.
Okay, I accept there are problems in our education system. And those problems are shown by us being so low down the list in regards to other states and other countries. Accept it. Agreed. I don't know how you get to that until we need to destroy the Department of Education. Those are two different things, right? Like, something not working is not the same thing as trashing the thing that is not working. Like, if my car is not working, trashing the car is not my solution to my car not working. I need to get my car fixed. And I know as I say this, people are going to say, okay, well, yeah, but you trash Democrats all the time. You said the party needs to go into the dustbin. I also say
that's not the same thing.
That's not the same thing.
No, that's not the same thing, because like you and I both agree on the pernicious role of the Democratic Party, right?
Yes.
And the Democratic Party, the problem with it is that it sucks away money and energy and dynamism from the left. So if it did, it's a giant sucking sound of like progressivism and activism out of causes that are important, and it distracts it and deflects it. The Department of Education doesn't suck knowledge and education out of state and local schools at all. I mean, you could argue that it's a bureaucratic redundancy because of the fact that in our country, our system is that we have state and local control of education. And therefore, why do you need a national Department of Education? And the truth is, and we'll say the quiet part out loud, Jimmy Carter, I know, because I was old enough to remember when this happened, I was 16. The idea was that they wanted to move towards federalized control of education. And they put the Department of Education up there as a placeholder in preparation for that. There was a lot of feeling at the time, because like Kansas wasn't teaching evolution in the schools and stuff like that, that actually local and state control was shortchanging students in a lot of particularly flyover and southern states, conservative states, where there were Christians holding sway instead of science. So the Department of Education was created in preparation for something that kind of didn't happen, which is which was basically federalizing education. I just want to say something about what Trump said. These Scandinavian nations that he's talking about all have centralized control of education. All of them. Okay, from Stockholm and it's all run from Stockholm and Helsinki and so on. Okay, like in France, also a country with high achievement levels for students, they have equality and equity all controlled from Paris, from the Ministry of Education. If you're a French school teacher, you don't get to choose, oh, I want to teach in Marseille. They assign you like you're like a soldier who is sent to whatever military base around the world they tell you to go to. There's like, oh, yeah, oh, thank you, teacher Jamal. You're going to go to Brittany. Oh, you're there for 2 years. Now you're going to Alsace-Lorraine. And if you go into a French public school in the worst, most dire slum in Nanterre, it is identical in terms of the equipment, the way the classes are maintained, the class size, the quality of the teachers. Everything is identical as if you were in Ile-de-Cité, in the most expensive, beautiful neighborhood in Paris. It makes no difference. The education is exactly the same. It's so seamless that if you could move in the middle of the school year, and if your kid leaves school on Friday and goes to across the country in the French Alps and starts Monday, there's no interruption or glitch in their education because they follow the curriculum to the letter, day by day, week by week. So everything is exactly the same. That's how the best systems in the world work, including China. So, I mean, but unfortunately, Democrats can't convey that because they're stupid. I don't know.
And they probably don't even know that.
Yeah,
like,
they probably don't.
They probably don't even know that.
Yeah.
What I don't want is Alabama teaching the War of Northern Aggression.
Right.
And New York teaching the Civil War. And somebody else.
Kansas saying, you don't have to learn about evolution.
Exactly. Or another state saying, God created everything.
Right.
I don't want that. And that is what I think we're going to get with this.
That's totally the idea here. Republicans love that. Local control of education is a quirk of the American system. And it goes back to the fact that when the founding fathers put the Constitution together, education wasn't in it. There was there's no right to a public education wasn't a thing in 1789, right? So it started to evolve on the frontier and in the 1820s, 1830s, 1840s. And then it was one by one room schoolhouse, K through 12. We all seen them when you drive across the country. There's still some left, right? Like not working anymore, but there's still some, abandoned, boarded up. Some people have turned them into farmhouses. The point is they're all over. And so by necessity, it had to be local control. I mean, you couldn't have federalized control of a school that was 3 weeks wagon train away from Washington. So that's how it's a quirk, but that's not like, let me put it this way. If you had a constitutional convention now, we wouldn't do it that way. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
By the way, voting is the same way. And it doesn't work that way. And then, so it's like, okay, each state has its own policy in voting. That's not a good thing. That is not a benefit. That's not, that's a bug. That's, it's like, okay, well, Virginia does its own thing in voting. Then another state has its own way of voting. Then another state has its own way of voting. Okay, that should also be federalized. We are one country. And now he is effectively doing this to the Department of Education. Do you think there will be a backlash over this? I think there will be. And maybe in a bubble, I could be totally wrong when I say this. I don't think that argument works for Trump, for what he is doing for something that the public is going to look at and says, okay, that's the Department of Education. That's our education system. Meaning the Department of Education is going to be a stand-in in America's minds for you've destroyed the education system of America. That's a big deal to me. I don't know why that's an insignificant thing that he thinks that he's going to be able to work.
The thing is, it's theoretical, right? Because it's not going to happen because he can't do this. He can't get rid of a cabinet level department without congressional approval. He needs 60 votes in the Senate. He's not going to have that. The Democrats aren't going to give them to him, right? So, but let's just say for the sake of argument that he does it. I think the backlash will be smaller than you think, but not nothing. And it's going to be in some ways that Trump's not thinking about. I mean, Okay, so you remember last year when the Biden administration fucked up the FAFSA forms,
Yes.
right? I know I have a kid in college. It was, I mean, literally we were on pins and needles as to whether he'd be able to, like millions of other kids, or hundreds of thousands, to be able to go back to school in the fall. So finally they got their shit together. But there were some kids who literally dropped out of college and will never finish their college education because of that. Well, that's going to happen now more because the Department of Education is who processes all the FAFSAs. They process all the student loans, and they process all the Pell Grants. And Pell Grants only go to people who are in financial need, right? So the backlash, and by the way, when college is $95,000 a year for a 4-year school, 4-year private school, everybody has need. I mean, almost nobody's paying out of pocket, right? Yeah. So the point is, a lot of kids and by extension, their parents who actually do vote are going to be pissed, and they're going to be pissed at Donald Trump and Elon Musk. That's where the backlash is going to be, because it's going to hit them in the pocketbook. And it's like you call me a lot of things. Don't fuck with my kid, and don't fuck with my kid's college education. People are going to be. I mean, I think that's a problem if it happens, which I don't think it will.
You're right. It takes an act of Congress to do it. But there are things that can be done in a de facto sense that damages the capability of the organization at work. And I guess that's what I'm looking at. It's like whether you destroy it in fact or whether you destroy it in principle in regards to what it's supposed to do.
Gut it.
You've gutted it, right? You've destroyed it.
Yeah, they're doing that. They're working on that now. Well, like with USAID. USAID is probably going to have to put the sign back on the door, right? Hilariously. If I were those, it's kind of like you and me kind of waiting for the call from, our former boss, like, hey, maybe you can come back to the studio. It's like that, it's like they're going to be getting that call.
Oh, that is sad and funny on so many levels. I can only laugh. Social Security is another issue, right? And there was a report that came out. I think it was Axios. I could be wrong on this, but they were pointing out the Republicans are freaking out about Elon Musk because, look, when Elon Musk was running around like a troll around Donald Trump during the campaign, I remember Malik and I saying he is an albatross around Donald Trump's neck. He is not looking out for the benefit of Trump or America. He's only looking out for his own self-aggrandizement. And then you have him rummaging through all over the place with him saying stuff like, yeah, we're going to go after Social Security next, and we're going to fire all of these people. We're going to shut all these offices. And a report came out that was pointing out that they were eliminating certain capabilities of being able to identify yourself with a phone for Social Security. Okay, that's a big deal. What if you're sick? What if you're ill? What if you can't get to an office? There's one Social Security.
It's Social Security. They're all old.
They're all old, which means the chances of them being sick and incapable of coming to the offices is that much higher, which means you've damaged the capability of Americans to get Social Security in policy. And then you go through slashing jobs, destroying and closing offices, something that Elon Musk is apparently doing, and him being vocal about it. And Republicans are like, we are going to suffer for this. He needs to shut up. He needs to stop. Social Security is the third rail for a reason. Elon Musk may not know that, but we will feel it as Republicans. That person was anonymous. Lisa Murkowski was not anonymous. She was very clear. Shut up and stop. You are screwing us over, and we will be screwed over as a result of all of these people being angry that you've damaged, inhibited their ability to get Social Security or eliminated their ability to get it at all. And we will pay for this as Republicans. Give me your take on that, because the truth of the matter is she's right.
Or she'll go ahead and vote for everything that Trump wants.
I don't know.
After she grouses every time. This is her shtick, right?
But Social Security is a different animal, though. I mean, she even pointed out, I have one Social Security office in my entire state, and we fought to keep that office open. And if that office closes, all hell will break loose, and we will be blamed. So I suspect that this is one of those cases where she's like, I'm trying to, make sure my backyard is intact when all of this falls apart, because I think there's going to be a backlash as a result. And there were multiple Republicans, but of course they were anonymous because they're terrified of Trump and they don't want to say anything bad about Trump. Give me your take on this. I mean, do you think this would get the backlash? I mean, if they're closing Social Security offices, I can tell you now, if you call Social Security, they're going to say, Because of recent closings and firings,
Staff
your
shortages.
wait time has increased by like 2 or 3 months. So what would have taken maybe 2 months now is out to like 5 months. Okay, that is traumatic. If you're an old person that just barely made it to Social Security in a job that you hated and you want to get out of that job, okay, now you're in this position where you have to wait several months. And that's assuming you have an office to go to. That's assuming at one point you could have called in. Now you have to drag your body into Social Security, something you didn't need to do before. I find this to be horrendous. And
it's appalling. No question.
It's appalling. I guess the catch is, will there be consequences for it? Because that's the only thing that really matters. Will there be consequences for the things they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, there have to be, right? I mean, the thing is that they experience pain like this in different ways. I mean, most people won't know what's going on. They'll just be like, they won't even put 2 and 2 together. They won't be like, they don't even know who Elon Musk is.
Oh,
they're
that sucks.
They're just going to say, I know it does suck, and it's taken me a long time to accept this. But most people are going to be like, everything just sucks more now. It's like everything sucks. You call it everyone. You're always on hold for hours. That's just how it is. But there's going to then, among the people who do know what's going on, there's going to be, the team players who are like, well, like the president knows what he's doing. I voted for him. Like it's about saving money. And then there's going to be, I'd say, a plurality of, who knows, 20% of the people who are going to be rip shit pissed. And you know what? History is made by those people who are rip shit pissed. 1,800 soldiers stormed the Winter Palace and completed the Bolshevik Revolution. I mean, it's like it doesn't really matter if everybody is pissed. The point is, you just need millions of people to be pissed, and there will be. So, it's going to be a bad look, and that will be, it reminds me of kind of like reading about the response to the civil rights struggle, and I studied it in college. It was like, obviously I was too young to have experienced it, but it's kind of like white America sitting in their living rooms, watching well-dressed young, people being beaten up by inbred, stupid fucking sheriffs in the South just because they wanted to eat a burger at the luncheon counter. And it's like, and it was kind of like, ew, it was an ick factor, and that flipped American politics. That's what we're going to have here. We're going to have an ick factor. It'll be like, oh, those are old people. It's not good. We shouldn't be doing that. It's gonna, and that's tangible, and that's going to have an effect. The problem is, okay, so everyone starts to. The problem is, I think it's now possible we're in a non-binary situation because the Democratic Party almost has ceased to exist. So it's possible now to start to hate Trump, and not have that benefit derive to Democrats. They may not be able to pick up the pieces and pick up the baton and run with it, right? They may, they can stand out of the way like James Carville has advised, and like Chuck Schumer is apparently going along with, stay out of the way, let the Republicans fuck up. Okay, but that doesn't necessarily, and that will happen. But the question then is, can Democrats, take advantage? I'm not sure. It doesn't, right now I would say no. They don't seem to have any. Not only do they have no clue, they don't seem to have a plan to get a clue.